What if a crime had no weapon? No fingerprints? No witnesses, only words? In 2014, a teenage boy lost his life, and the world mourned a tragedy. But as investigators dug deeper, thousands of text messages surfaced, messages that changed everything. Messages that raised a chilling question: can words alone become a crime? At the center of this unprecedented case stood Michelle Carter, a teenage girl whose messages would spark global outrage, legal debate, and redefine responsibility in the digital age. Michelle Carter and Conrad Roy III were both teenagers struggling with mental health challenges. They met in 2012 and formed an intense relationship, built largely through text messages and phone calls. Though they lived only miles apart, most of their connection existed through screens. Conrad battled severe depression and anxiety, while Michelle often portrayed herself as his emotional anchor. Their relationship became emotionally dependent, complicated, and increasingly unhealthy, filled with late-night conversations about fear, pain, and escape. As months passed, Conrad's mental health deteriorated. He expressed hopelessness and thoughts of ending his life, statements that should have triggered urgent intervention. Instead, investigators later found that Michelle's responses grew disturbingly persistent. Rather than urging help consistently, many messages encouraged Conrad's darkest thoughts. The line between emotional support and harmful influence blurred, creating a digital record that would later become the center of one of the most controversial trials in modern history. In July 2014, Conrad Roy III was found dead in his truck in a parking lot in Massachusetts. At first, the death was ruled a suicide. But months later, police uncovered extensive text message exchanges between Conrad and Michelle. One message, in particular, stunned investigators. Michelle admitted she knew Conrad had stepped out of the truck at one point, but told him to get back in. This revelation shifted the case from tragedy to criminal investigation. Michelle Carter was charged with involuntary manslaughter, an unprecedented move in a case without physical violence. Prosecutors argued that her words constituted coercion, that her messages created a psychological pressure Conrad could not escape. The defense argued free speech, mental illness, and the impossibility of criminalizing words. The courtroom became a battleground for ethics, law, and modern technology. In 2017, the judge delivered a shocking verdict. Michelle Carter was found guilty. The ruling sent shockwaves across the world, raising difficult questions about accountability in the digital age. Experts analyzing the case described Michelle as emotionally immature, desperate for attention, and unable to grasp the consequences of her actions. Some argued she believed tragedy would bring sympathy and validation. Others believed she was overwhelmed and misguided rather than malicious. Regardless of intent, the court concluded that her behavior crossed a legal and moral line, proving that influence can be deadly even without physical presence. Conrad Roy III's family described their loss as immeasurable. His death became more than a personal tragedy. It became a national discussion on mental health awareness, responsibility, and prevention. Schools, parents, and lawmakers began addressing how digital communication can amplify harm, especially among vulnerable youth. Michelle Carter's case remains one of the most debated criminal cases of the 21st century. Supporters argue the verdict protected vulnerable individuals. Critics warn it threatens free speech and sets a dangerous precedent. What remains undeniable is that this case forever changed how society views online influence and reminded the world that words can carry devastating power. The story of Michelle Carter is not just about guilt or innocence. It is about responsibility in an age where conversations never disappear. It forces us to confront how we speak to those in pain and how silence or the wrong words can become fatal. This is a story that continues to challenge law, morality, and humanity itself.